have IoTs to probably improve your competitive advantage. And one way or the other, they are going to tell you that you have to use blockchain technologies. So there is actually a very fine line that divides those four areas that we're looking at in our different plenaries. So I'm hoping that we are not going to just wait for the report from our group. We will also get interested in those many other groups. And also do not get bored if you find out that there is duplication, at least on certain things. I'm sure it's highly because our areas are highly interlinked. So probably this time, I will just take this time to say, may the different scribes, the scribes from the different groups, or those people who were jotting down notes, may they consolidate their notes. I don't know if you agreed in those different groups who is supposed to then give a report back. Probably it's the facilitator, as the program is saying. So may you then get the notes from the scribes or those people who are jotting down notes, so that the facilitators will come up front and report. Let me confirm one thing. Can I see the scribes? Can I see those scribes? Because they are going to be the fallback people when the person who is reporting is not too accurate. They are supposed to be the. Can I see their hands higher? I can see quite a number. So scribes, be ready. Can I see you once again? Be ready to be back up. When the summaries are being given, you just say that other point was not given that way. I'm told that big data, they want to start. I would have had it the other way, but it's still fine. Just to indulge the gallery, why I would have had it the other way is because I believe that the flow of the topics would have been nicer if it was the other way. It would have been nicer if Internet of Things start, and then the big data people then come and they say, we collected the data using those people, isn't it? And all. So is it okay? Lovely. They have actually agreed to my proposition. Thank you so much for not debating with the director of ceremonies. Okay. So we're going to start with the Internet of Things. We're going to start with the Internet of Things. And as life would have it, my handlers did not do me well because I'm supposed to chair it again. So just assume that you are seeing a different person. Is that okay? Yeah, just assume you're doing a different person. Let me try to push centrally, because I'm seeing that other people who are trying to look at me and they're trying to say, where is the voice coming from, isn't it? So I have, may I first see those who were in the Internet of Things cluster? Those who were in the Internet of Things cluster. You sometimes abuse the chair just to make sure that your people show off, isn't it? Yeah, so those are the brains that were in that cluster. And the first thing that we did in that cluster, okay, so she's asking me, am I going to do a Q&A, like a question and answer? What we're going to do is we'll get reports right through, isn't it? And then at the end, we then have the question and answer as a general talk as well, isn't it? Is that okay? You say yes or no. So what we started by doing in our cluster was this. We had a random profiling of the attendees of our cluster members. We had secretariats, we had people from different ministries, we had also like our law enforcers, we also had programmers, content developers in that particular cluster. We also had marketers. Yes, we had one gentleman who is into marketing. He also then came to IT. So we had people from all walks of life. And how we then did that, we also even had one gentleman who is certified in IoTs. Yeah. And then we tried to establish a working definition of what IoTs are. And in establishing a working definition, what we wanted to do was, we wanted to try to ensure that we detach ourselves from the academic working definition of IoTs. The reason being, a lot of definitions, or a lot of times where definitions are used, in academia, I'm sure you'd agree that if you don't fit into a definition, you are hardly disregarded. It's almost as if whatever you're going to say afterwards is not really that important because you don't know the definition. So we're trying to depart from that. We're trying to ensure that the definition should come from how we live. Is that okay? How we live every day. Apparently, so a lot of definitions came up. Others said this is us actually connecting devices over the internet protocol. That was very, very technical. But we took the definition, a lot of people understood that. We then said what we are doing is we are connecting things, isn't it? We are connecting things and we are using the internet as our networking protocol. Now, it then also then went to where we started talking about how do people then generally connect? What are the devices that people get to use? And on the devices that people get to use, a lot of examples came there. But primarily, I want us to pick one thing. In our cluster, you were equally a thing. In other words, the human being was a thing being connected to the internet too. So how you are then connected to the internet? You are connected to the internet via another gadget. Is that okay? This came to mind especially when one of our security guru, a law enforcer, said, as part of the risks, people need to know that it's not always wise that every time that you travel, you're in Bulawayo, you want to take a picture at the airport and they're like, now current settings, I'm in Bulawayo. When you then get to Dubai, current settings, I'm in what? In Dubai. There is someone who is probably stalking you, who was actually checking whether you are at your house or not. And whether you like it or not, whether they're going to do traditional stealing, they can actually gain confidence in doing whatever they want to do, either to abduct someone from your house, to break into your house. We even had a lighter note where we said, even for ladies, small house may break in. You know, small houses break in. Why? Because the big house is so fond of saying wherever they are. So they know that apparently the fence is gone and they break into the house. I'm sure when you come back, those are some of the break-ins that you are not really told. But we're saying, so you as an individual, we're saying, as you connect, as you get connected to the internet, you are a connected thing too, whether using another gadget or so. And then we then got to the scary stuff. We started by talking about the threats, the vulnerabilities, the dangers. And my colleagues were pretty passionate about this. Because the issue that came, that was actually where it was so clear, was people were asking about issues of policies. Issues of policies, policies. One gentleman said, it seems as if we abandoned the one gateway policy, for instance. And another one responded and said, but there was a time when there was a statutory instrument which was short-lived, which was actually getting us back to having one particular gateway. For those who probably are saying gateway, we're just saying ways of connecting outside the country. When we use our internet, how do we then eventually connect to the internet, so to speak? So when one said that why that came up was because we were now saying the network or the Internet of Things, or the network of those devices that we are using, is getting our data from us. But seldom do we sit down and know where that data is going. We don't know who that data belongs to. You probably are enjoying bliss of using an iPhone that can tell you how many steps you walked since 6 a.m., but you don't really know who knows that, and we don't really know who uses that data. Others even say there are phones these days where they measure your pulse, they do a whole lot of things, and apparently just for the sake of developers. There was actually at one time a proposal of coming up with a security feature on a phone, and a security feature that uses gait as a security feature, like the way that you walk, is it? Yes, that uses gait, your posture, and everything. And so it came out to say all these IoTs. One big issue is that we don't know where they get our device, they'll get our data to. We don't know who eventually uses it. We don't even know who owns them. So apparently we did not want to just dismiss that as baseless paranoia. Though there was then a counter argument to say, why not have us try to ensure that our IT managers are not lazy? Because the issue that one colleague kept on saying it, that the people who are exposing us are what? Lazy IT managers. Why was he saying that? He then explained to the group that we have a mode of IT managers who are still the requisition IT managers. You know, IT managers who always want to buy stuff. Do we still have those ones? Which can eventually connect to your TV, to your refrigerator, and all that. And others will even boast and say, right now they are controlling their homes from a distance, isn't it? And as they do that, the question that then comes, that comes with that, is we don't know who made that. You don't know who did that. You don't even have any idea of how your gadget works and why it behaves that way. And we say that's a vulnerability. We say it's a vulnerability. We largely use gadgets that have so many functions than what we need. And the question is, what you don't need, is it not just increasing the surface area for attacks? We even then went down memory lane and we talked about a radio that had 2 decks. And the other deck was for dubbing. If for those who are old enough, they remember even the vocabulary. And we say, but if you go back and you look at that radio wherever it is, you would find out that that radio lived its life, but it had only used 2 buttons. That is the play button and the stop. And probably the eject too. Why? Because the African would still take out the cassette and they would still use their pen to rewind. and they would put the cassette back. And they never used all those other buttons, which were very expensive apparently, which were very costly in them buying the radio, until the radio outlived even its own life. And we said we probably would fall into the similar bracket when it comes to investing into IoTs. They were saying majority of us would depend on over-the-shelf solutions. And all those, we buy something that is so pricey, expensive, but that is not customized. We buy something that is talking to billions and that is collecting a lot of data, and yet probably functionally we're just using one or two things. And we said that is also a vulnerability when it comes to the use of IoTs. And how did we then recommend? I'm now getting to the end. We then said, let's try to ensure that we also have sessions like this, PEMSEC, where we bring together people who are into content development, people who would want solutions, people who have problems that they think they may actually get engineers here, electronics. Babies who are going to cry and not leverage on technology that can actually be used for good. So we then talked about the benefits, and on the benefits, people were equally passionate on the benefits. The first one that I will mention, we are a very, very small country, population-wise, and even surface area-wise. Trust me, we do not need much if we were to collect the data or if we were to collect information about everyone here. We do not need much. And those who are into the law enforcement then said they're having it hard time to actually just track or to have a way of finding out where a particular criminal is, how a particular criminal is behaving, but they would want to have that. They would want to have a simple sensor that at least would give them such information, at least for habitual criminals, whom they would want to at least find out where are they, what is happening to them. We even then whispered to each other and said, do you know, some of you may not know, that in Zimbabwe, you know that when someone appears in court and they are told that, such and such a sentence is suspended for 5 years under condition that you are not going to commit the same offense. We have had our friends who take advantage of that. Every time that they appear in court, for 5 times, the 5 times that they appear in court, they will appear in court using a different name. And why? It's because when they are arrested, they are largely not arrested with their IDs on themselves. So they get in court and they say another name today, they say another name the following day, they say another name the other day. And largely because there's no way that our law enforcers can just use simple technology just to know who you are. Simple technology just to know this man was here before this and all that. So we then said we can actually use that and leverage. For all information, I'm sure for people who have been watching the news, they've realized that Hong Kong protesters, which was not our point of discussion, the reason why they put on masks is because Hong Kong has a system that does facial recognition in the street. Apparently, as you are walking, it can actually tell you that today, so and so, if they want, is it, was walking in the street. Not to say they then get into your privacy, but we're just saying they have that capacity. So they were saying, to a certain extent, we can use that as benefits. We also then say, it's no longer derogative, PEMSEC, to be a cell phone farmer these days. It's actually flamboyant and it's actually what should be happening. I remember when we got our land, who would laugh at you and say you are a cell phone farmer? It's because you were using a Nokia 3310, isn't it? But now with your phone, you should be able to be a cell phone farmer. Do not have this business of having Ibero on your cars. You remember that bell? Yes, we said, no, don't worry. You don't need that. All you need to do is to find people with the solutions What they'll do is they'll give you a geotag, to the extent that with a geotag, when you are in Bulawayo, you can tell where your cows are back in Mondorongezi. So we're saying all those. And when it comes to that as well, we had a lot of farming solutions which were coming through in our cluster to say we have a lot of opportunities in that regard. We can actually have all those sensors getting to making our work even more easier. And when you have all those sensors around, you can be able to collect more data, you can be able to have data-oriented solutions. Why? Because you have localized how you are collecting data. We are saying, time is up that we collect general data. For instance, that you are told that it's going to rain in Bulawayo. Yet your field, which is just outside Bulawayo, is never going to receive rain. And all of a sudden people start saying it's because others are using muti, others are using juju, or others pray more than others, isn't it? We were saying using IoTs. It's very possible for us to localize solutions to specific areas, to specific individuals, and therefore contributing to even our colleagues who are going to come after us, who are going to talk about big data. So that's what we talked about in summary, and I'm sure when you then ask questions, my colleagues should be able to answer. Thank you very much. We'll call upon the big data.
Thank you very much, the Director of Ceremonies. My name is Engineer Tusabantu, and I'm a bit old school, so I'm going to be referring to my notes. Like he said, he'll hold us accountable if we lie. So allow me to do that. In the panel or the breakaway session that was discussing about big data, what we did first, we looked at the objective of why we had gathered there. Like he had said, the threats, the opportunities, the vulnerabilities, and the countermeasures. So we first looked at the members or the groups that were represented in our breakaway session, were people from various ministries, and that led to a discussion that was more open and free to contribute. So what we then did, we split our threats and vulnerabilities into 3 different categories: the internal threats, the external threats, and the technical threats. But before we did that, we first defined what is big data, which is exactly what I'm going to do again here for the benefit of everyone. Like he said, now we have IoT sensors, we are collecting data. Now, the major challenge that comes, why we now have this concept called big data analytics. This data comes in 3 different aspects. First, we talk about the volume, we talk about the velocity, and we talk about the variety. When we talk about the volume, normally when people hear about the term big data, that's what they first think about. Big volume, that's usually what everyone thinks about. In this day and age, I usually give this example that 2016 prediction was 20 billion connected devices. 2018, the same guy who predicted came back and said, no, it's 50 billion connected devices. But what is that number in relation to the population in the world? It's number of devices, 5, 6, 7 devices per person. And like he was rightly saying, where is that data going? We are talking about large volumes of data. Then the second view, which is the velocity. I'm transmitting that data from my phone, from my tablet, from my iPad, my laptop. That data needs to be processed somehow, and in the fastest possible time. And in this aspect, we always talk about, for example, the medical field. It's a pacemaker. Decisions need to be made in the fastest possible time to avoid complications, health regards, for example, if it's a pacemaker. Then the last view, which is variety. I'll give an example of our monitoring and evaluation NGOs. Back then, we used to have them go in the field. M&E officers would go with a questionnaire, capture the data on a form, then give it to data capturers, they capture the data and it's stored in a form that was known to everyone. But now with this introduction of these new technologies, we have our phones, for example. Everyone was taking pictures here. The same thing, monitoring and evaluation officers now go to the field. They capture images. Let's say it's a bore that we want to drill. Satellite images. That data still needs to be processed. But we were talking about the traditional storage of data where that data was captured by data capturers in a form, but now image. So that 50 billion of activities that raise awareness and conscientize people on this thing called big data. Then the second threat that we realized was raw information. For example, when you receive information, people usually just want to know what is useful to me. And we don't usually care about what is something that doesn't concern me. But what you think doesn't concern you helps someone else. I was giving an example, the PhD study that I'm doing. For example, we have banking entities. Let's say the number of banks that we have in Zimbabwe. What we usually concern ourselves with is, I have swiped my card, I have received the service that I've paid for, and that is it. And from a banking perspective, I have delivered. That's what the bank would say, I have delivered. And from my perspective as a client, they have delivered. But then we are saying from that data, where big data analytics now comes into play is, from that data, there are other insights that we can get. For example, the bank knows that if I have made a transaction at Total Filling Station, he has made a transaction at Zua, he has made a transaction at Common, all those other stations. Let's find a way to share this information and then say, okay, Zoe is selling so much according to the banking transactions. So we are saying, from a banking perspective, that is processed information. It's raw information. It hasn't been tabbed according to their customization, how they want to use that data. So that was the second threat that we realized. Then the third one was the love of foreign systems. This we attributed to lack of trust in our own content developers, like he was rightly saying. Most people, they say something that has been bought abroad is much better than something that has been developed by our own in-house developers. So we gave an example of the way we are storing our data. For example, something was pointed out that in government, we still use our Gmail account to do official government business. But Gmail is owned by Google, and it means ultimately Google knows everything that our government is planning. So we said, we do have Tel, and that is a data center. We have Utande, that is a data center. Why not take that up? Only focusing, why are we focusing only on those cloud infrastructures stored by someone we don't know, we don't see? But we have the same infrastructure here with companies that we know and we can see. And at least we can attribute, should there be a leakage or some sort of hacking. Then the fourth item was inability to fund research. Inability to fund research and development. Talked about various institutions, HIT, NAST, SEDC. They are all focusing on research and development. But in most cases, the lack of funding then creates this gap whereby the academia is doing things on their own, the industry is doing things on their own. And one member in our panel then said, if the academia is disjointed from the corporate, who are they developing solutions for? Which is a very critical question. So there needs to be that opportunity where we then partner our academia and our industry. Then the fifth was politics, organizational politics, where everyone wants credit for something. And in the end, we have many organizations or ministries doing the same thing, paying so much money to achieve the same results, what if we just take that and use it for a positive way? Then the other one was failing to realize the value of our data. We like freebies, but then we all know that nothing is for free. We were talking about the issue of Gmail that we say. Ultimately, it means Google has our information, but most companies will say, I know it's easy to use Gmail because it's free. They create that illusion that it's free, but you're actually going to pay to get your data at the end of the day. Then we then went on to our external threats. Our external threats, the first one, we had ownership, lack of data ownership. If Facebook has our data, we gave an example that for those who are technical, if you want to develop a system or you want to do, let's say during election time, you want to do a poll on Twitter to analyze who is trending, who is not. If you have to develop a Twitter developer ID. You have to request for permission from Twitter. You have to request for permission from Facebook for the content that we are giving them for free. But then now for you to use it, you have to request for permission for them. And in other cases, depending on the research that you're doing, you have to pay for your own data. So that is also a big external threat. Then social media. Recently, we have seen Facebook buying all the social platforms. What is it they are buying? I mean, recently they just acquired Yahoo. But most people don't use Yahoo now. But they realize the value in that data. What they are buying is data. Something we seem to be reluctant about to say it's not important. To them, it is important. So you've seen Facebook buying Instagram, buying WhatsApp, buying Yahoo. In the next years, we predict that data is going to be the new currency. So they are creating a powerful position for themselves. So this external threat is not only, it's an ongoing discussion in the Western countries, but we actually don't realize that this also affects us as a country because we are also residing on those same platforms. Then we talked about the dark web. For example, if you go on the dark web, credit card information may sell for $1, passwords may sell for $2, but when it comes to health information, it might sell for $1,000. Why is it that we are reluctant to say this health information is important to us, but someone else is selling it for a higher price that is higher than your credit card details? So in America, they have created a legislation specifically that focuses on health information called HIPAA, where they're going to regulate who uses health information for one person and for what reason. Then we went on to the technical threats. Our technical threats, we talked about this thing we are saying, we like opportunities or we like systems that have been designed outside. But the greatest threat is, even if we design systems locally, the infrastructure that those systems are residing on is still foreign. So the threat, even if the people from security, even if the people from software engineering design the systems locally and they're secured locally, the platform that the systems are residing on are still foreign. And it means that data is still going to be sent somewhere with or without your knowledge. So that is also a very big technical threat. And then outsourcing of softwares without proper documentation. Most cases, when your system fails, you buy your pastel and you want support, you have to call them where you bought the system. It's a very big technical threat. And we brought out the point that why don't we have, for example, if you look at Western countries, they have Masters of Arts in Computer Science. And why is that important? Here we have MSc, we have MEng, we have MTech, very technical fields. But the importance of having these Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Mining Engineering, is for us to have proper documentation of our own system, such that we don't have to rely on other systems. If you look at all the systems we buy outside, our own systems developed locally, maybe the user manual is just 7 pages. But when you buy a system outside, the user manual is a very book that is tedious to read. Why? Because someone studied for 4 years doing that, how to document technical systems. And we're saying that is what also we need to do, because that lies as a technical threat to Zimbabwe. Then the opportunities now, given all this that we've talked about, we came up with a way forward. Number one, the collaborative research that we're talking about. Let's stop dividing that academia people just lecture in classes, just do that. let's stop saying the industry people don't do research. If one can aid the processes of the other, why not meet halfway? That was our first point. Then the second point was recognition of developers. Technical people raised concerns that we develop systems, but people do not have the confidence in our systems. So why don't we have maybe Standards Association of Zimbabwe, or SARS, saying this is a standard. If you design a software, it has to meet this criteria, this criteria, this criteria. That way, we can develop or we can gain more trust in our locally grown solutions, knowing that it has been certified by SARS, so this can actually work. Then we also talked about investment opportunities. Why not partner with people? There was an example that was given that TechHub then partnered with Zambia and Malawi because Zimbabwe was not very attractive for investment. And after that, they then had investment coming in. So why not create an environment that then builds for these investment opportunities? Or better yet, let the government fund some of these projects for our content developers. Then, last, we talked about the legislation. There was an interesting debate that why don't we penalize people who buy systems abroad and not have them, like if you're going to buy a system abroad, why don't you give you a penalty fee for doing that to support our local content? And then that argument ended with saying that can only be achieved if our systems grown locally can match up to the standards of the systems that are being developed abroad. So we are driving towards that. And the biggest, the key thing to note in that is patience is virtue. Systems that are grown locally, it's an incremental innovation that's iterative. Why not give them a chance to keep doing this until we reach that point where our systems can compete at a regional level or in this international segment? Then last but not least, we talked about the opportunity in capacity building. I would not have done justice if I do not also mention HIT. I am the current chairperson in the software engineering department at our Institute of Technology. So let me say, when it comes to capacity building, we do have programs at HIT. I'm opening this invitation to all of us. We are trying to reach a point where, at the executive breakfast meeting, it was mentioned that let's take IT issues out of the IT department into the boardrooms. We are trying to conscientize the decision makers at the highest level. What is big data? What is cyber security? Such that we can see the value in our data. Because if a technical person comes to the director and says, I want to go to HIT to do this training, we don't see the value in that. But we're trying to make the top management realize the business value. So we are on an overdrive to go to various ministries. You can invite us. You're free to contact us at HIT. We have different programs. We have fundamentals of big data analytics, digital forensics, data journalism. Earlier on, our keynote talked something about fake news. We do have those programs. Data journalism, how can we leverage social network analytics to come up with the exact position of our data to try and do away with these things that we call fake news. I would also like to thank Mr. Chikumbirike, who was also part of the panel and contributed a lot to this discussion. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I hope people are writing questions, contributions, important points that you want repeated, expanded on. So for now, we're going to have Dr. Maposa, who is going to take us through what was discussed in the other rooms. Yes, over to you.
Good afternoon. It's difficult to present after academics have presented. I'm not an academic, unlike them. Anyway, in our group, we discovered that many of us had no idea what blockchain was. So the first part that we did was to just define what blockchain is. And we came up with this definition that blockchain is simple, a distributed ledger, okay, where each node is participating in the transactions that are being executed. That means that no one can alter any transaction because everything is distributed. So blockchain has other several technologies under it, like your Bitcoin, which is very, very popular. And the value of blockchain right now is sitting at $259 billion US dollars. All right? So, what is the architecture of this blockchain? We're saying each transaction has got a public key and a private key, which is verified upon transacting. Then the history of the blockchain, it was founded by Japanese and is being used by many industries across the board. For example, 50 Cent, the American musician, has made a lot of money from Bitcoin. Ransomware is demanding payment in Bitcoin, even in Zimbabwe. There are 2 Zimbabwean companies that have established their own cryptocurrency. And I hear that there are initiatives in the office of the president to have title deeds, buying of land through blockchain. So there are several types of cryptocurrencies which are available. There's Litecoin, there's Bitcoin, there's Ripple, and these are all being used. Now, who uses Bitcoin? Everyone uses Bitcoin. The employed, the unemployed, the males, the females. Everyone uses Bitcoin. And our challenge with us in Zim is that we lack awareness, we lack education. People in the rural areas, they don't even know about all these technologies. And therefore, our education system must be transformed so that at early age, our kids at primary school are taught about these technologies and their passion is developed. One of the challenges with Bitcoin, with blockchain, one problem that we see is scalability. Because of its distributed nature, each node has the same record of the whole system. So it's very difficult to scale up. Again, there's a problem with throughput. You can only do 7 transactions in a second, whereas with Visa, you can do 1,663 transactions in a second. And PayPal, you can do about 193 transactions per second. Right? Then the other thing is, currently it's sitting at 195 gigabytes and is growing. So these are some of the challenges that blockchain is facing. What are the threats? Where there is money, we know that the hackers and other people are very attracted. In 2018 in Japan, one company lost $534 million US through hacking. All right? So what are the other vulnerabilities? There's what we call double spending, all right? Where someone may want to use their cryptocurrency multiple times, all right? Then there's also another problem which is called mining pool security, where traders can gang up and use their resources together so that they generate more processing power, and then when they get the rewards, they share those rewards. So this also can be attacked and by hackers. Then there is distributed denial of service attack, where an attacker makes all these resources which are distributed unavailable. Then again, at node level, there is malware, there are bugs which can attack your private key. Once the private key is attacked, you are going to lose, all right? Because blockchain is built on a mathematical algorithm which up to now has not been cracked. And as we're discussing in the group, we came to the conclusion that that algorithm is very safe. What is exposed is your private key. So if you decide to be reckless with your private key and then hackers hack, then you lose. So again, there's social engineering where these people can purport to be a reputable company and steal your personal information. So for Zim, there are great opportunities. For example, we said maybe for Zimra, they can try to adopt blockchain for payment systems. They'll still get their money so that the government can still use blockchain for citizens to pay for services. We need to train kids in primary school about these technologies and develop even their passion. The problem is that people are taught programming when they are 20 years, 18 years. And it becomes difficult. Why not teach them when they are 10 years, when they are 5 years, and develop their passion? Again, we thought that this could be extended even to our security sector, the police. They need all these technologies to be effective. I think that's the end of our discussion. The group is going to help if you've got any questions that you jotted down on blockchain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maposa. Now we have our last and that's it. There's one gentleman who died, and he was the only one who knew the password, and he died with the password. And I hear recently there's one who is more closer home, who actually woke up one day and he was like, "You've lost all your money." Why? Because I've forgotten what the password was. So I don't know. You probably will be looking at that. Where are my colleagues? Just a moment. Okay. They are saying that's okay.
I'm trying to.
So the operator is not there, so he is trying to hack into the systems. He managed.
And you also had
A remote control. Okay.
unless somebody.
Probably I can be there, and then you
Sorry
present.
for that.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are the last group, but very exciting group. I want to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Minister of ICT and Courier Services and the PEMSEC, and also Dr. Machengete, who are still around. My name is Josephat Mtefa. I am responsible for payment systems in the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. We looked at payment systems and we came up with the opportunities, the vulnerabilities, the threats, and in those we were also profiling the way forward. What was exciting about our group, we had one of the most diverse group in terms of gender, in terms of age, and also in terms of the sectors we were coming from. What was exciting is that we had regulators, law enforcement agencies, we had ministries, which are policymakers, we also had practitioners, we had people from the academia, and then people from the media were coming in once in a while, as they always do. So in terms of opportunities, firstly, we defined what our payment systems are. We didn't put it here. We had a small discussion so that all of us understood what are payment systems. And we came up with the summary that payment systems normally are what is used to move money from one area to the other, from one person to the other, from one family to the other. When you are paying Lobola, you can also use payment systems. We gave that example. Or we have moved away as a country from barter trade, when we used to exchange goats and cattle. If I want goats, I would come to you with a number of goats and then you give me one cattle, something like that. But we've moved away from barter, and from barter, the economy and the countries moved to cash, and Zimbabwe has moved to a less cash economy. And while there might be challenges currently, because people then come up with multiple pricing and all those are just symptoms of the economic challenges we are facing as a country. But it does not say that there are no opportunities in payment systems. Actually, if you want to be a modern income country and a upper middle income country by 2030 and a digital economy, issues of payment systems remain very fundamental and key. And issues of banking services being digital will be a key pillar. So our opportunities, we then came up with issues of digital. These are not in any order. We used the brainstorming ability to allow whatever comes first to come on the line. Digital IDs. We said there is an opportunity to use the data, which we already have. We looked at the population we had. Everyone was above 18 and was above 18 in the last election. So some biometric data was actually collected during the voter registration. And that is sitting with the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. And we also have a lot of data sitting with the Registrar General in terms of which is very electronic. And even our IDs have moved away from the still ID, which I still have because I love it. But there are now newer IDs which are more interactive. So we are saying as a country, we might need to harness this data in a very responsible way so that we can make our business better. For example, in banking and financial services, if you are opening an account, you need to submit your ID. And after submitting your ID, it's so rudimentary that the bank will have to send a letter to the Registrar General, which is a hard copy letter signed by authorized signatories, to say we want to clear Mr. Mtefa and Engineer Undishora, they want to open accounts. Are they bona fide citizens of Zimbabwe? And then they go into a very computer-based, IT-based system to then retrieve our names and then write on that letter to say, yes, they are bona fide customers. So we are not gaining as an economy. We have already invested in that ability, and that can actually help us. We also looked at issues of growth in digital payments, which we already have, but we can even grow further. We can then open more business opportunities because we've got the issues coming out of payment systems and also digitalization. We also looked at the reduction in cost of doing business. We are saying instead of walking to go and get your service and then you pay, you come back, you no longer need to do that. There are even now digital marriages, as I am told, where a guy in UK, one of our sons, can wire their money to Zimbabwe. What actually happens, we sit our small meeting at home, we agree how much we are going to charge as the Lobola, Machakrai, Kuno, and all, and Manika, so we have all those things. There are so many in Manika, but the purpose is to get the money out of you bit by bit. And I think in all marriages, that's what happens. They get the money from you bit by bit. When you look at the quantum, it's already a high value payment, but you've been paying bit by bit. So some smart guys now say, send me a list on WhatsApp of how much it is going to cost. Then you start negotiating online to say, hey, no, we are not reducing that one. Then finally you have a figure. The guy will wire the amount straight into your bank account. And then when the amount is already wired, the people just come for the pay. I mean, now it's a ritual. Otherwise, the wife is already gone digital. I don't know if it is safe, but it's happening. There is also financial inclusion as an opportunity. We want to include our population, and if you want to be a middle income country, we need our people included, be it from mining, from agriculture, from whatever businesses they are doing. We are able to harness that information from a government perspective because we know where they are transacting. The other issue is convenience. It has to be convenient to do business. At the end of the day now, I like this convenience where even when I'm sitting here, there's only one danger in that. In the past, when I leave Harare to Zimbabwe, everything had to stop because I had carried the wallet and the money. But now, unfortunately, or fortunately for progress, I'll be able to pay from here, so bills will still be coming. And while I'm here, I will be paying bills and on the go, which is great. It's a great opportunity to us. I know if the money is little like we have, we get scared when you see all these transactions coming through and you have not authorized them sometimes. Because some of them, if you go on the toll gate, you see your car already going through the toll gate and you are here. Because maybe your son has just picked your car and is driving to Mutare, he goes on the toll gate, he shouts your cell phone number, and toll gate is prepaid. They hit the road and then you then discover that your son is in Mutare with your car, your money is being spent, everything is just being spent. Unfortunately, we need to be more responsible. Then there's also the issue of reduction in time of doing business. It's good, it's more convenient, we can... I know in the past, when I started working some years back, we used to be given an off day on Wednesday, even in the banks, to go and do shopping after payday. So we'll be allowed to go out to go and do shopping, because shopping was something which was known by HR, that people have to go for shopping. These days, if one of my staff come to me and say, I want to go to shopping, I'll ask them, what do you want to do? They say, I want to pay ZESA bills. They say, oh, is it? I want to pay council bills. I say, oh, okay, you are not connected. Why are you going to pay? They say, no, I've got a query with ZESA. And I said, but you can query online and all those. So it's actually keeping more time for us to do work, and it's also important. I know sometimes we still need to do the window shopping. We'll continue to do that. There's also efficiency, which we talked about. It's efficient to move money from here to the other side. But the efficiency itself, if it's not handled correctly, it becomes a threat or a vulnerability, because the money can move faster than you know. I told a scary story of some lady in South Africa, a friend of mine. She was seated in her home, prepared to go to a Catholic church for Mass on a Sunday, only to find on her phone SMS, she's transacting from Russia. She has never been to Russia. She has never dreamed of going to Russia. She only sees Russia on news, that she was transacting from Russia. In any case, she has never been out of Africa. And she doesn't even know where Russia is in terms of the continent. She didn't do geography. She was doing Shona and the other subjects. So the challenge now comes that this efficiency is great, transaction is gone through, but it's the wrong transaction. Because what had happened is card data had been hacked. So good enough, there are also safeguards. SMS alerts. She saw the SMS alert on a Sunday, so she had to contact the bank quickly, and no more hemorrhage was done. In any case, I laughed at her, because her transaction was 5,000 rand, her account balance was 5,200, so no further hemorrhage could have been done, because the money was gone. But at the end of the day, you can protect going forward, and you'll be able to recover some of this money. Then digital audit trail. Whenever you are transacting, you are leaving a digital audit trail. So while there are now medicines and drinks where even after you've drank so much beer, you can just take that and you appear sober. If you are a church priest where it's not allowed to drink beer. So you decide to go out there and drink from this hotel. And then when you are coming out of the hotel, you take that so that you look sober to your congregants when you meet them. Unfortunately, because of digital audit trail, they can actually see that you were sitting in the bar at this hour and what were you buying, if they really want to. So I think we need to be very responsible, fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters, because the digital audit trail can show where you are, what you have done, and some of the things, if they are not good enough, if you cannot share it to your friend, they are not good enough, don't do them. What are the threats? We looked at hacking. And I am glad that all the groups spoke about hacking. When you are talking of technology, there is hacking. When we didn't have a lot of technology, they were still hacking, but maybe it was physical hacking, where somebody has to manhandle or woman handle you. But in this case now, it's very borderless hacking. Hacking is going into somebody's system without knowing and then doing whatever you want to do. And most of it is criminal. You want to deny service, you want to stop the transaction, you want to move the money to your side, you want to manipulate data. And we also looked at manipulation of payment system data. This also can happen. So we need systems which are encrypted so that we don't have this challenge. Also, fraudsters are now borderless and less physical. So I was joking with our security sector colleagues that policing is no longer about physical presence only. It has also become very digital. So, and otherwise, so in Zimbabwe, I think when we have cameras for driving in the roads, most of us will be found wanting, because we are so used to physical police. So when one day you drive from Harare to Bulawayo and you don't see any policemen, then when you reach home, you are phoned to say that you were going through all the speed traps, because they do cameras quietly and you don't know. So I think beware, Big Brother, I think will bring some non-physical policing, which will actually help. So the danger now is fraudsters are borderless. So Zimbabwe can be actually be targeted. And unfortunately, what we also saw, they know everyone is open to be threatened by cyber security, cyber threats, because they no longer care about big businesses. Actually, statistics show that about 64% of the companies which are being targeted are actually small businesses and individuals, no longer big businesses. If you look at the payment system in the past, they used just to hack the bigger banks and all that. But this time around, they are hacking anyone. I told people of a story of a woman who banks with one of the banks who had a very unfortunate incident. She's a pensioner. She receives 25 Zimbabwe dollars every month as a pension from some company. And somebody hacked, I think she gave away a PIN number unknowingly to somebody somewhere, and then they took that card. She didn't find the card. Finally, the person was just waiting for the $25 and take it. What saved that woman is after the first 25, she trusted the bank and said, maybe they've made a mistake. So she waited. So the next month, another 25 came in, the guy took it. Again, 25. So after 2 months, she said, enough is enough. Let me check with my bank. Only to see that her card, she was not even finding where it was, and her card data had been tampered with. And then what she had to do, what helped her was the SMS alerts, because SMS alerts were coming on her phone. But unfortunately, she didn't have the knowledge to say, I have not withdrawn this money, so it's not a mistake. Let me contact my bank. So that's also important. Also, the other issue is too much connected. We are a too much connected world. It's important to be connected, and it's great. The Internet of Things, Internet of everything. But it also brings vulnerabilities throughout all those connection nodes, which then threatens us. So one weaker system can affect the whole country. and it's only one system which is weak. So you cannot boast as a company to say, we are cyber resilient, we have serious cyber security as a one industry, while the other industries are not at that same level. Because they can be attacked, and then you are gone. One of the interesting examples of people who can be attacked are your stakeholders. They can attack your customer, your user, or they can attack your suppliers of systems, or people who you do business with. They attack those ones. And at the end of the day, you're also attacked, you're in the same chain. So it's important that we all move this digital divide. I always say, the way we innovate in new solutions, in banking, finance, in agriculture, we should innovate the same way in countermeasures for cybersecurity. Then digital identity theft is also a challenge, that it can be stolen information and somebody purports to be someone and then they do misdemeanors which cannot be even shared in such a public forum. Financial illiteracy. I said Zimbabwe, we agreed in the group that Zimbabwe is highly literate in terms of financial literacy, over 90%. But we are not very literate in terms of financial literacy. And when it was measured by the World Bank at some point, I think some 3-4 years ago, we were sitting at around 35, less than 40% financial literacy. Understanding financial systems and what happens, what to do and what not to do. So we have a lot of work to do as every one of us to make sure that there is more financial literacy. It's not only the job for the regulators and the operators and the banks, but all of us are teachers of our own people. We also have lack of knowledge. You know, when you don't have much knowledge about issues, you don't know what to do. There is a story which is always told that my data is disappearing. And only to be told by clever friends that, you know what, Mr. Mtefa, even though you are so learned, you have left some apps open and they are eating your data. It's a lack of knowledge. Yes, you'll be so knowledgeable somewhere, but you're not knowledgeable in terms of gadgets. So when we give our mothers smartphones, it's easy for them to go on WhatsApp and everything. But what else are they not using which becomes a threat to them? So you need to do that. Then also lack of funding. Actually, we, from the statistics as at 2018, it was estimated that to counter cyber crime, cyber security industry has to need at least about estimated $6 trillion US throughout the globe to counter cyber issues. So what are we going to do? Do we have the budget and the pocket as Zimbabwe? And most of this is foreign currency because the systems currently are mostly foreign. Vulnerabilities, we looked at big data itself. We said it's an opportunity on one side, but it's also a vulnerability because customer data is in the hands of so many people, but we don't know what that data is being used for. Worse off for Zimbabwe, currently our data protection laws are not yet there. We don't even know what we should do. After we get the law, we now need to move on to do awareness, to manage the people so that they know what should they give. I gave an example of Facebook. I grudgingly went on Facebook when my daughters convinced me after a long time. Why? They give everything on Facebook about themselves. Their location, their new dress, you buy them. If you then ask them to drive your car, it's already on Facebook. Everything is on Facebook. I give very minimum information on Facebook because I know it's not clever to give information. I always joke to my daughter to say, if you go for a date, don't give everything out on the first date. You keep some to yourself and see if it's possible to give that gentleman more when in further dates. I've spoken in tongues. But what I'm simply saying is, on Facebook, you just go on Facebook today, every profile, all the photos from the rural area to the town to this conference is already sitting on Facebook. Then we ask you for friendship, you don't even know us, you click like. Everyone is liked. Don't like everyone. In God we trust, in others we verify. Lack of knowledge, we still said it's also another vulnerability. I think I explained about it, also as a threat. Creation of monopolies and dependencies. We actually said we can, unfortunately the tech world is so interesting. One player can move faster than all the other players. Although the playing field might be level, other players decide not to move, and then we end up creating a monopoly. Once we have a monopoly, all the data, all the information about you is sitting with one company. So that company can sell you insurance, they sell you banking, they sell you mobile money, they sell you connected car, connected house, connected security. So at the end of the day, it becomes very difficult, but they've not done anything wrong really. Some people have failed to compete also at the end of the day. So we also end up creating, because if you look at Google, you look at Facebook, you look at Alibaba, Pay Now, those are giants. And if they come into this market today, Alibaba comes here, everyone will cry. And can I share with you a secret? I'm not allowed to share secrets, but I can share this one. We have had approaches from Alibaba, as the government of Zimbabwe. They want to come into this market. Okay. And one of the difficult parts is, do we allow? Do we don't? What can we leverage? They are a great player. In terms of operations, great player. But those are the monopolies we're talking about. Dependence on foreign systems, we need local solutions as well. We depend on foreign systems. Anything foreign is good, you know. So that's why some people, unfortunately this is fraudulent. I heard that there were some farmers from Zimbabwe who were taking maize from Zimbabwe. They allowed the truck to pass through Chirundu border post. They turned the truck around. It's now imported maize. And our people have got, they love foreign things. It's now imported maize. It's now paid in foreign currency. But this guy has just bought all this maize from people in Mutoko or Mzarabani or Cholocho. It's unfortunate. We need to verify some of these things, because somebody is just taking his truck to Zambia, and when he comes out of Zambia, it's imported maize. It comes in, you are paying in foreign currency. It's unfortunate. So, depending on foreign systems, we also need to bring our own systems. Limited understanding of what you need to use and what you don't need to use, what can you disable or something like that. Exclusion of some communities, no internet in some areas. I joked and saying, from my chieftainship in Mutasa, my chieftainship has no internet, but you know, chiefs have got a role they play. They are like local courts. They are dealing with issues, not only Ubirana Mombe and all that. No. These days, Ubirana phone can be determined in Mutasa under a tree, kwa chief, first, before they even go to the police. And this is a digital age. He is dealing with digital issues. And the guys can even speak in some language to say, no, there was dependence and he was bullying me. And the chief does not know what bullying is. Maybe some of those old chiefs, he doesn't know what is bullying. He needs to consult Dr. Google, but he has no internet data. So I was saying, maybe challenging, it's not a populist policy, I think. I was challenging the ministry to say, I know you are doing community centers, which are great, but maybe where the chiefs is sitting can be a free Wi-Fi zone from the operators. Again, they can encourage them to give them, we have free Wi-Fi zones in town. If I go out here, I think there are free Wi-Fi zones in cities, but not in rural areas at all. So that can help the chief to also check what is happening and then be able to move on. Privacy and data protection remain a threat. Issues of privacy and how do we protect the data remain a big threat to all of us, and we need to work. We will soon be there, don't worry. We had more vulnerabilities, and it's important. It's because we are scared. Maybe that's why we have more vulnerabilities, but we have countermeasures. Password management has to be done well. Most of us use remembered password, easy to use password, one password from one bank account to the other, to the system you are operating in the bank, to everything is one password. It looks smart, it's not. If it's hacked, you are gone. And most of those passwords are alpha. They are not even alphanumeric. Number two, they are not even sophisticated at all. We use the date of birth and all those. Then I joked to people to say, I decided to use date of death.